thanks for this meal and for those who have prepared it. And as we eat, we ask that you give bread to those who have none and a hunger and
It was a beautiful morning with all those different religious leaders, different backgrounds, different denominations. We all came for one purpose, and this is really the beauty about faith, that there is a lot of common ground among all different denominations that we can work together.
Here we see the beautiful city, the beautiful lake, that we don't really see what's going on inside the homes, inside the hotels, in the workshops, in the factories, throughout the city.
Last night we met with hotel workers, and it moved us last night to hear actual testimony of employees who are going through unfair working conditions. I want to know why the employees got to do 15 rooms in a 7.5-hour day. Why employees' backs are hurting, why they can't take good breaks. And so I'm standing here, I've been challenged as a pastor to go back on the west side, go back and tell the African American congregation that this is a serious issue that we need to embrace. God bless you, and we're in support.
This event does not end right now, it continues. What will happen next is the members of these religious communities are not going to say goodbye to each other, but we are going to gather downstairs at the plaza, where we will be sent out to the various hotels, where we will meet with the workers in the union to really understand what the life is like for these workers so that we can truly be in solidarity with them.
For me personally, it was just a great experience. My first time being in the back part of a hotel, and kind of seeing the day-to-day and seeing the struggle. The place I was at was almost claustrophobic for me, and I'm sure is somewhat for the workers as they try to, provide the best hospitality, in such, many times cramped quarters. But it was good to be with them. It was good to hear their stories, to see their encouragement. They informed me just as much as I encouraged them as to their struggles, and that was great for me and gives me energy to continue this struggle with them.
And I was very moved by actually having an interaction with Carl at the Ritz Hotel, who runs the uniform room, and to know that workers, when they come into the Ritz, pick up their uniform for their respective job, and each worker wants to have pride in putting that uniform on. And this campaign is all about them being able to wear those uniforms with pride.
As I was sewing, doing alterations, repairs, I looked up and I saw them. They introduced themselves to me, and they asked me everything about the unfair labor practices, the understaffed, the overworked, the large workload. And not only that, they asked to see the rest of the hotel where the rest of the Local 1 employees work at, and that made me really feel special.
And I was reminded of the gospel lessons that we've been reading the last few Sundays in church from the Gospel of John, and Jesus talking about the banquet that he's offering to all people. And I was struck by this image of banquet or feast and having enough and not having enough. And I was reminded of this as I was talking with one housekeeper, Yin, who was telling me how much time it takes for her to turn over a room. I was really struck by this feeling of not having enough. For those who put out the banquet for the guests in our city, they themselves don't have access to that banquet in many areas of their life.
Me sentí feliz, contenta. Me sentí con más apoyo, como que no estaba yo sola. Me sentí muy a gusto que ellos están tratando o están ayudándonos para ser justos.
Islam, faith in general, is about service to humans, and any area of improving the quality of the human, the environment that he lives in, it's our duty to be there for them.
the first prophet of Judaism, Abraham, was an example to actually challenge God to do the right thing. So in our tradition, if we can challenge God to do justly, surely we should have the strength to challenge the owners of hotels to do the right thing, to think about what they do, and if they were in their shoes, what kind of working conditions would they want?
When we were going through the employee elevator corridor and stepped through a door and entered this lush hallway where the guest rooms are located, and as a person who has often spent some time on that guest room side of the door, I realized that if I'm to follow the cries of my own heart, to stand in solidarity with the workers who are trying to work for their own justice and their own place at the feast, the banquet, then I must stand with them and spend a little bit more time on their side of the door.
It was an experience that I will never forget. It will be a beginning for more steps on my behalf, I'm sure, to be available for any type of service like that to come in the future, if it was in the hotel area or any other areas of workers needed to have the support. And I'm sure that with this message being said, other religious leaders will come along and join us to make America a better place for everyone to enjoy.